5 reasons why I do not own any Canon RF glass and probably won't anytime soon. So in order of importance, let's jump into it. Reason number 1 is that there is minimal improvement in respect to autofocus and image quality. Now, when I was in LA a few months ago, I had the opportunity to link up with a photographer friend of mine who has a lot of RF glass. And so I was able to test the RF glass to my EF glass. And I spent 4 hours meticulously testing the autofocus, the image quality, the colors, all of those things, the build quality. And ultimately what I found was that the RF glass was not that much better than my EF glass. Now I say that much better because the RF glass was better. It was sharper. The autofocus was slightly faster. But the improvements in all of those areas was not enough to justify me selling my current EF lenses at a loss to then turn around and buy the equivalent of the RF glass. Now, speaking of cost, reason number 2 is the cost of the RF lenses. The L lenses are so expensive for what they are. And I know, we have inflation and everything is up right now, so I totally get it. But the cost of the RF lenses, the L lenses, is just astronomical. And so when I take into account the fact that I'm not really getting that much improvement in the RF glass over my EF glass, as a business, I just can't justify buying the RF glass. I'm at a point where if I'm going to buy gear, especially if I'm going to replace gear that I already have, there has to be a viable business reason to do so, and it has to make financial sense. And based off of the improvements that I saw in the RF over the EF, I just personally can't justify the cost. Reason number 3 is the fact that all of Canon's zooms are external zooms. Now, I know that may seem minor or minimal to some people watching this video, but for me, it's a personal preference. I prefer internal zooms. I have had EF glass external zooms where when it zoomed all the way out, eventually over time, you start to get wobble in the element that zooms out. And you also get where the lens will zoom out, fall forward if you have the lens tilted down. And that may not be something that would be experienced with RF glass over time. That would have to be seen. But I'm just not a fan of external zooms. I prefer internal zooms. And so the fact that Canon isn't offering that, I know it's rumored that they're going to maybe bring out a 7200 that's internal zoom, but because they don't offer that, it really deters me from wanting to buy them. Now, granted, I'm not a big zoom fan or a big zoom user these days anyway. I do tend to use more primes and zooms these days anyway. But a lot of the RF glasses coming out is zoom, and they're all external zoom. So that's just a bit off-putting for me. Now, speaking of Canon wanting to go smaller with the lens, reason number 4 is build quality. Now, when I was holding these lenses in my hand, especially the 70-200, when I had the RF 70-200 versus my EF 70-200, the RF just didn't feel rugged and durable like my EF. Now, granted, I know that Canon they have a big thing right now where they really want to make their lenses small and they want to make them very lightweight, but at what cost? And so the thing that I love about my EF lenses is that they feel rugged. They feel like a tank. They feel like no matter what I put them through, they're going to be there. And I just don't feel that way with the RF glass. And to be quite honest, I don't really feel that way about the R bodies in general. Most of Canon's mirrorless cameras, they don't feel anywhere as robust and durable as the DSLR cameras. So that might just be a sign of the times, and that's just how things are. But when I was holding all of those lenses, the RF version and my EF version in my hand, I just really preferred the way that the EF felt. It felt more durable. And the fact that I've had these lenses for a long time and I've put them through some stuff, I'm not crazy hard on my gear. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm one of those photographers that are very hard on gear. I'm not. But I've put my lenses through things and they have survived, and it just doesn't feel like the RF glass would be able to do the same. Now, disclaimer, that's not to say that it won't. Okay, I don't own them. I haven't used them for years, so I can't sit here and say that they're not as durable, not as robust. But I can definitely say in my hand, the RF glass definitely feels like it is not as durable and robust as my EF glass. And reason number 5 is the lack of selection in between the very expensive L glass and the moderately inexpensive non-L glass. There's really no good options in between. You really have to choose either the expensive L glass or the cheaper non-L. And the problem with the cheaper non-L is that it isn't anywhere near as good as the L lenses. And for the quality of it, I could just use my EF lenses instead of getting them. There's no benefit. In fact, there were some cases where my current EF lenses were sharper and focused faster than the budget RF lenses. So it wouldn't make any sense for me to switch to those. So really the only option that I have is the $3,000 L lenses. So I really wish that Canon had more options in between, to where if you didn't want the super expensive L lens, but you wanted something a little bit better than the somewhat non-expensive non-L, and I say somewhat non-expensive because a lot of these lenses are $600-700, which is definitely a lot more than what the non-L lenses used to be in the EF lineup. There's really just nothing in between that kind of pairs the two to where you still get solid quality, but you're not paying that price. And so if my current EF lenses are better than the budget RF glass, my only option is the expensive RF glass, it really just makes me not want to even jump into that arena. Now, with all that being said, this really goes without saying, but these are reasons for me. You may have RF glass and may think that it's fantastic, or maybe your RF experiences have been better than what you've experienced with your EF, and that's totally fine. But these are the reasons for me. And like I said, I spent a lot of time. I spent 4 hours testing a ton of different RF lenses to my EF lenses. And I just didn't see the improvements that people talk about when you watch these YouTube videos. I didn't see where the RF glass was just dramatically better than the EF glass. And I spent time testing with focus charts, doing portraits, doing motion, doing action. I tested a lot of different things, and I just didn't see these improvements that people are always talking about. And that's not to say that they don't see the improvements. Maybe in what they're doing or what they're using, there were these big improvements. I didn't see them. I certainly didn't see enough improvement to justify selling my EF glass at a loss these days. The ship has long sailed on being able to sell EF glass. I just haven't seen a benefit in selling that glass at a loss to then turn around and buy this expensive RF glass. I just don't think that it's going to make anything better for me. And so for that reason, I'm an EF user, and I'll probably be an EF user for quite some time. A bonus reason, and this isn't a big deal, but it bothers me. They don't have an L lens 35mm. I don't know why. I love the 35. I shoot with my Sigma 35 all the time. I love that lens. For whatever reason, Canon has not brought out an L series 35. Now I know it's rumored to be coming out, but it has been rumored to be coming out for like 2 or 3 years now. Don't know why they don't have it, but it irks me. And I always said that would be my first RF lens purchase that I would buy. At this point, I don't know that I would buy it now, just because I don't feel like the quality of it is going to be that much better than my Sigma. Sigma lenses are fantastic. But yeah, that's always bothered me. It's always bothered me.